Hi everyone, it's Mr. Chris from Diary of a Lincoln Geek. Welcome to the show, Let's Talk Board Games, the board game show that everyone's talking about. Let's face it, we have the live show, we have the podcast, we have so much, it's amazing. But if you aren't already following us, then head over to the website, which is DOALG.co.uk, go to YouTube and hit that all-important notification icon so you know when we're doing our future shows. So, who do we have on the show today? Yes, well, we have the designer of Arborea, yes, Dani Garcia. He is going to be chatting to us and answering, hopefully, some of your questions about this game that is currently live on Kickstarter. If you're interested, stay on the line, wait for the show to start, because we'll be starting very soon. Maybe even got a quick time to run and grab yourself a drink, maybe even make yourself a quick cuppa and grab a snack. We sit back and relax and we chat with Dani and talk about his game design that is being published by DOALG Games. Speak to you in a moment. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone on the internet, it's Mr. Chris. Yes, we're here with Let's Talk Board Games. Yeah, I've got Gregor here with me. He's on audio. Say hello, Gregor. Oh, no, maybe not. He'll come back to us in a minute. But we've also got a very special guest. We have Dani Garcia to the left of me, or to the right of me. Hello, Dani, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. So Dani is the designer of Arborea by DOALG Games, which is on Kickstarter, and it is live on Kickstarter now. It's only a few days left to go, which is pretty incredible. We are currently live on all our social medias, so we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and of course we are on TikTok as well. Hello TikTok, we've got people there already saying hello, which is always nice. And crikey, we've even got someone in the comments already. Hi there, Joe Paul, he's out there. I think he's been excited for this one because he's been watching the Kickstarter quite closely, I believe, if I remember correctly. So yeah, exciting. So how are you feeling now, considering how long has this been in the works? Because I think you were telling me it's been 2 years.
Yeah, a bit more. Well, the game was signed 2 years, 2 years and 3 months ago, something like this. And obviously, I was working on it. I don't know, maybe 6 months before that. I started working on it. So yeah, it's almost 3 years since I started working on this.
Wow. Crikey, and it was tell me a little bit more about yourself and give people an idea, because of course I know you're a games designer, but you didn't start out as a games designer, did you?
No. I started doing graphics, 3D graphics for video games or ads, or I did many things back in the day. And at some point, I created a small video game company, and I was the designer and the artist of that company. And now I'm doing this transition. Well, I say now, but it's been the last year that I'm trying to do this transition from that to board game design.
Yeah, no, well, it's natural progression. It's kind of how I started as well, because I studied 3D graphics and animation in the university in London, and it's strange how life progresses you and moves you. I mean, while my day job's IT, getting into board games and card games and naturally starting a review channel, it's just a nice perk.
Well, I'm really having much more fun designing board games than I was doing video games. So yeah, it's. I'm not sure if everybody will feel the same, but I really like this.
No,
this thing I'm doing now.
And how long have you been designing board games now?
Well, I've designed a game for many years, but most of them I was not trying to sign them. I was just doing them for fun, and it was, I would say, 2019 or maybe 2020 at some point that I decided to really try it. And well, I now I'm trying to do it full time, but I will see in a few years. I will see if that works or not, because obviously you start doing games and the process is very long until they are finally released. But well, so far I'm happy about how it's going.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we've got Gregor. Yay, Gregor, he's here now.
Hi.
Oh, we can't hear you, buddy.
No.
You can now.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
So, believe it or not, I hadn't. I'm going to admit something. I actually hadn't seen the Kickstarter, and initially, no, I hadn't. I get so blinkered sometimes with writing reviews, doing stuff. I don't see every bit of Kickstarter notification that comes up, and it was Gregor that that turned around and said, "Why are we not looking at this? This looks really good. Why haven't we got them on the show?" And so I reached out, and the guys at Alley Cat Games put us in contact with yourself, which was really nice. So and said, are you free to come on? And you sounded really quite excited about it. Does that mean you're excited to talk about the game at last?
Yeah. It's we were talking before the stream a bit. It's been a very long process, and it's you do playtest and you meet with people, but most of it's a very solitary process. And being able to talk about it, it's really nice, because it's been 2 years that I wanted to talk about this, and you see new games from other designers that are being talked about, and you're waiting your turn to talk about your game.
Yeah. You have all sorts of NDAs sometimes, don't you, when you're designing, and you've sold the game design to someone or pitched the design to someone. So I get that. I'm in we're in two minds about a game we're developing at the moment, whether we want to put it through to Kickstarter ourselves or whether we want to pitch it and let it go. But I've invested a bit of money in getting artwork done, so I'm kind of
you're leaning into.
I'm thinking I don't want to let go of creative control.
It's something hard. And different publishers work in different ways. Some you just give them the game and they will do something with it, and some you have a lot of control, so it's always tricky.
Yeah. What do you prefer? What do you have a preference?
It's difficult to say, because obviously if you have the control, you also have to spend more time working on this one. So both have advantages and disadvantages, but unless you trust the publisher, if they are going to take control, you have to trust the publisher and the publisher and think that they are going to do something that you will like. Otherwise, I will not do it.
That makes sense.
I think I will like to keep a bit of control, if possible, or otherwise, if I trust the publisher, I can live with that.
Yeah. Well, the Kickstarter is currently running at the moment, and it's been running for a while. It's coming to the very end of it, isn't it now? It seems to be doing really well. Now, I know Gregor was particularly excited about this, but for anyone who may not have seen it and been under a stone like me, can you give a very kind of brief synopsis over the game and what style of game it is?
Yeah, well, it's a mid-heavy Euro game, and it has this theme about a mythical land where there's a cataclysm every 1,000 years, and we are spirits that we will help different tribes to rebuild this land and bring animals back to this land, which it's the main way we will be scoring points. And I think the most interesting bits gameplay-wise is the way you do all this, or the way you generate resources and get this landscape rebuilt and get the animals. Is you are placing workers, but you don't get anything immediately when you place the workers. You just place them on a track, and these tracks will be advancing the more the more you wait, and the more other players also join you in that track. And it's a bit like being in a train. At some point, you will decide that that's your station. You will step off of that track and do an action, and the more you've waited, the more rewards you will get. And also the fact that because this is the theme, it's nature, and it's a competitive game, but it's a theme that evokes sharing. So you have these sharing resources where you can generate resources and you can spend them, or you can leave them and get some points for that, but then they are on a shared pool and everybody can take from that. And this theme, this is the resources is the most obvious thing, but that also happened with creators. For example, you can attract creators, but then other players might take them and place them on their tableau. So there's all this thing of I may be doing something and you might get something from what I've done.
Okay. I mean, Gregor, I know you like I say, you piqued your interest. Did you have anything you want to particularly ask?
Yeah, one of the main things that I noticed in terms of mechanics is that before we get onto art, which is like the art and the design and the look of it is one of the main reasons that it like stood out to me.
That's why I've not said anything yet.
and I know Chris loves that sort of stuff, which is why I was like, you probably want to get these guys on the show. But mechanics-wise, well, we're still talking about the actual game, so I understand that there's like a shared resource track, so that there's constantly. That's the way that you keep everyone involved in the game throughout the game. How does that work?
Well, yeah, you have there are 6 resources, and there's kind of a table that are basically 6 tracks, and basically when you gain resources, the token for each resource is divided into parts, and you increase the top part. So basically, this is a way to say, okay, at the start of my turn, it was on this position, and I've moved the top part, so I've moved it 3 times. I know that I've generated these 3 resources. And before you end your turn, you will have the ability to spend them, and spending them is basically moving them down on that track. But if at the end of your turn, the top and bottom halves of this token are separated, it means that you generated resources and you have not spent them. So you move the bottom part of the token, and all the points you cross on this movement, it's points you gain. And obviously this creates I know that some people is kind of scared of this system because they say, okay, I've been working on this and somebody might steal them. But because you can plan ahead, you can really generate a lot of resources on a turn and spend them. And at the same time, you can play with these points. You can see what other players are doing. You can generate some resources, gain the points because you are not spending them, but hope that they will come back on your next turn. So there are many strategies that appear from this mechanic, I think.
Cool. I can see Chris has already got the screen up, so I think we're talking about art now and how the game looks. So I mean, we got. I mean, I might take over and share the screen just so I can see the image in big. But
go for it. Take over.
If we've got, if that's all one enormous image, cool.
I can make it full screen if you prefer.
This is a new setup for me, so that I can have access to doing things like sharing the screen. But it involves me sitting at a very weird angle. So apologies if this looks awkward. Let's do.
Is that a bit better for everyone?
Let's do that. There we go. That's a nice view of how everything looks. How does that look?
Go for it.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Cool. Anyone would think we planned it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's how did you? What came first? Because this is obviously like the sort of tree motif is pretty central to the idea of the game. But what happened? Like, how did you start off with the artwork and the idea of having a game around trees? Was it mostly like mechanic led?
Well, I had the idea of nature, but in fact, my prototype was about. It was set in the real world. It was a natural park that was born, and you were restoring it. It didn't have this fantasy layer on top, but basically, apart from that, it was the same game. You were generating trees and flowers and plants, and you were getting squirrels instead of these magical creatures, but it was the same idea. And obviously, my artwork was not anything close to that in the prototype. So, there was mainly... it was the most important part was mainly the mechanic, but I had the theme very, very present when I was designing, and that's why this is one of the reasons, because there are many shared things between players, or you might do something that might help another one. I think the theme really helped with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm just going to show. Let's share this instead. There we go. So you can see that, like, there you go.
Beautiful.
I like as well that for the Kickstarter, I'm assuming that the game doesn't come with the sort of terrain, leafy scenery that you've put in there. But
it's all aesthetics.
The aesthetics of it are really good, and like the fact that you've got little illustrations on the board as well. Like the illustrations are very detailed, and I think that that's really like to be commended.
Yeah, well, they did a very cool thing, because there are two artists that work on this game. One of them did the box and all these illustrations you are showing, which was Nico Hendron, and then it was Javier Incolem that did all the board and on all the iconography. And obviously they try to match the styles, but they have very different styles, so you can see what each one has done, and it creates this very special look, because I know some people are comparing it to mostly Bitoku because they have the same theme, but I think they really have different art styles. Even if they are both very colorful, I think it's very distinctive.
Cool. And then what? So how did this all come together then? What's the process that got it from prototype to being a fully completed thing with art and Kickstarter, and you're being published by Alicat?
Well, I was obviously working on my own. I know a lot of, well, basically with the pandemic, the good thing that had, at least for me, is that all the designers from here all about TTS and all got into Discord. So we started playing with each other, and we met a lot of people. So I have my group of testers. I designed the game up to a point where I thought it was good to show to publishers. And that year, because of the pandemic again, it was the UK Games Expo was not done physically, but they organized an online event, and there was one speed dating event where you could send them your game, and they will, and I don't remember how many, but 12, 15, 20 games were selected, and you could pitch the game to publishers there. And I came with Arborea, and Alicat Games loved it. They were very, very fast to ask me to sign the game. And from that, remember that this was 2020, so it's more than 2 years away from now. Obviously, you're not working all the time on the game, because they had a lot of things on queue.
Yeah.
But we started. They had some comments on the design. I did some tweaks. Then there was a big pause, and as we were getting close to the release, we did a few more iterations on. They sent me feedback, and I did some changes. Then we started working on the mini expansion, because Alicat Games always has a Kickstarter with the basic game, and then the deluxe edition with a bit extra, something extra, a small expansion. And then while I was doing this, they at some point already decided on the theme, on adding this fantasy layer, and they already commissioned it. I think it was Nico first to do this artwork and to create this world that Arborea is set in. And at some point, I don't know exactly when, because obviously I'm not in all these conversations, but at some point Javier was also included, and he started working on all the other bits. And to this point, I think right now it's most of it. It's completely done. If not, the only thing I have not seen is the solo components, but I imagine it's pretty much done.
The solo thing was the thing that I was going to ask you about, actually, because so did you design this with a solo mode in mind as well, or was it more of you came up with the normal, we'll call it, concept first, and then tried to adapt it afterwards?
No, the first test obviously were with people, so I started testing with 2, 3, 4 players. But I play a lot of solo games, so I always try to do solo games on my designs. And once the game is more or less working, I usually then create the solo game, and I also use it to test it myself, because when I'm testing with people, I prefer the other people to play and I'm not playing. So after the game has evolved a lot, maybe I still need to play to know how it feels. So I use the solo game to also get an idea of how the game feels, and also I'm also developing the solo game for the final version, obviously. So yeah, it doesn't start from the beginning, but it's something that I know I will do, and I try to do it in a way that the experience will be the same if you're playing solo that if you're playing two players or
and I imagine
game.
the fact that this was like honed during the pandemic as well made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
That probably made you reconsider your options a little bit.
Yeah. No, but it's something that, because I played in solo mode also, it's something that's natural for me. I usually don't buy games if they don't have a solo mode, so I imagine that if I'm doing a game, I also have to do a solo mode.
I mean, I'll freely admit I'm not a massive solo mode or solo game player, but I've recently, been trying more and coming around on it, and doing the reviewing that we do. We have to look at the solo elements as well, and I'm seeing more and more clever things being done with solo modes. And of course, for someone like yourself to put, that onus on the solo mode and then everything else that comes with it is a nice thing. But we're seeing more and more games coming with solo mode. Does that make you happy?
Well, yes, because I can play them.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that I don't play them in multiplayer, but I have a 2-year-old son, so it's very complicated at the moment. So the solo mode sometimes it's the only option I have. So yeah. In fact, now I almost expect a solo mode for every game, and I'm disappointed if I don't see a solo mode. It's kind of the other way around, more than being happy when I see one.
Yeah, I mean, Gregor's bringing up the graphics now and bringing up the 11th section. I was sold just from seeing the graphics. It looks stunning. It looks beautiful, and I believe whoever's been involved with the art with this has nailed it. Did you have much say with that, or was that down to the involvement with Alicat?
No, that was Alicat. The only thing I did was to check if the icons were right or not, and then I could. I had a small comments about, okay, maybe we should add this iconography or this clarification here because it's not obvious. But apart from that, all the artwork, I had nothing to do with it. It's all Alicat Games and the artists they hired.
And are you happy? Are you happy with seeing it finished? Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it, because obviously you want the game to do well because of the design, because it's the thing you've done. But I'm very aware that the first thing that people will see it's the artwork. It's the first thing that will catch your attention. And I also like to play games. Yeah, I like the mechanics, but if they are pretty or if they are interesting looking, much better. So yeah, I was really happy about. First, when I saw I think the first thing I saw was I saw Nico's work in general, and then eventually I saw the box of the game, and I was impressed by that. It has that very unique style. Yeah. And then when they told me that that Javier was also included, because I knew his work, and I was absolutely happy with that, because I knew he was going to do a great work.
Yeah, that's always nice when you've got a vision for something and someone is bringing it together. I mean, from the box to the meeples and the printed screen meeples that are being shown here, it looks fantastic. I can definitely see why it's doing well on Kickstarter. And for anyone who hasn't been on and had a look at it yet, the link's down at the bottom, everyone. Go and have a look at the Kickstarter, because it's definitely one worth checking out. Like I say, it's doing well, but we wanted to highlight it for a reason, because it's such unusual art. While it looks great, I've not seen anything that looks like this, which is what I think is one of the appealing factors. What do you reckon, Gregor?
Yeah, and I think that, like, there's both, as well as the art, there's some interesting looking mechanics as well. That I think that anyone who likes their Euro games, this looks like a pretty tempting option.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's risky to say this with Kickstarters, but Alley Cat Games have a pretty good record of fulfilling games, making things that people are happy with. So the likelihood that you're actually going to get something that looks good at the end of it, I'd say you're in good hands.
Yeah, and I get that with Alley Cat as well. I mean, the instances where we've spoken to them at UK Games Expo, and their presence at UK Games Expo, is pretty consistent. And I think they'd shoot themselves in the foot if they did something wrong, because they're only a small publisher. That they're not one of these big, massive ones. Which I think, was that something that appealed to you when you signed the game?
Well, I have to be honest, because it was the first game I signed it. I was eager to sign it with I won't say with anyone, because obviously
you did your due diligence and research on.
Yes,
on the,
you did. Yes.
No, but I knew them before they offered.
Yeah.
So I think I was happy that they were interested on it. Because when I did when I sent the game to the speed dating, I think there was a list of the publishers attending, and obviously you see some that you think they are probably not gonna get it because they don't do games of this weight, and there were 2, maybe 3 that were able to. I thought that were able to take this game, and I think probably Alley Cat was my favorite.
Oh, okay. Well, you mentioned the speed dating, so I've seen this at Expo, where games designers are given the opportunity for anyone who doesn't know, the opportunity to, in a speed dating style, pitch their board game designs to lots of different publishers. And I can imagine. Can you describe the experience? How was it? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you,
Well, I was nervous about I was nervous about the result of the speed dating, but not of doing the speed dating, because I was already used to talking in public, so that was not a problem. But it was also, I think it was a different experience than usually speed dating is, because it was not in person. It was through a webcam. Like now, because of the COVID. And it was, instead of, usually speed datings, you sit on a table and you have 5 minutes and one publisher at a time. And in this case, you had also 5-10 minutes, but you were in a room with all the publishers. You had 5 minutes to
talk,
to show the game. Yeah. Well, it's easy because you don't have, it's better you don't have to explain the game 10-20 times. You just explain it once. Yeah. And you don't get tired from that. But yeah, they had the option to do questions. I got, I don't remember, 3 or 4 questions for the game, and then you're out of the meeting and a new designer enters. Yeah. And then if they like it, they have your email and they will contact you. But they were very quick to do it. So I was convinced they like it.
That's good. Can we just take one moment to just pause and just remind people that we are live on the relevant social media platforms, and if you've got a question you want to ask, please feel free to do so. And we're just going to take 16 seconds to pause and say thanks to our sponsor with this video.
Honey Badger Games sponsors Diary of a Lincoln Geek, the perfect treat for any class. They have an amazing selection of meeples, dice and potions, all in fantastic jelly form. Check out the website and the discounts below.
Well, we'll show that again at the end so people can see the discount codes if they want to check them out, because I just realised that Banner was covering it.
Don't show the discount code till the end.
Yeah, we'll show that at the end. So if you want to check out our sponsor, which is Honey Badger Games, we signed them ourselves. We're really excited about it. It's a new realm for us at Diary of a Lincoln Geek. So go check them out and check out their geeky treats because they're yummy. But we'll crack on with any questions from yourself, Gregor, if you've got anything, mate.
I was just looking for a Facebook comment that someone posted when we had we initially put that we were going to be doing this live stream a few days ago.
Yes.
And I was intrigued because basically this David Pender on Facebook commented to basically say that they love the look of the game, but there's lots of other games that they know are going to be launching on Kickstarter soon, and obviously everyone's got a pretty limited budget, and this is a fairly chunky game. You can get the base game for £38 British plus shipping through by backing on the Kickstarter. Is it going to go to retail after the Kickstarter's done? Do you know?
I think so. I'm not sure how the Kickstarter version. I think maybe through the Alicat Games website it will be.
Yeah.
But the base case version, I'm pretty sure it will.
From my experience with Alicat, that it's likely that it will be available. But I do know one thing: if you do back it on Kickstarter, that they're going to make it available to possibly collect at UK Games Expo if they get it printed in time.
At Essen, for sure. I'm not sure about UK Games Expo, but they offer it at Essen.
Yeah,
as far as I know.
At Essen. Thank you. Yes, it was offering it at Essen, not UK Games Expo.
Yeah,
I did see that. So that's a nice option because not everyone can, afford the chunky, shipping charge that's almost as much as the games these days.
Yeah,
because it's one of the things that come out of COVID.
50% of posts are board games, and 50% are people complaining about various couriers that deliver board games.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good news. Anyway, the question I was going to ask, the question that sort of David put, was about basically. So what would be your pitch to someone who's going, well, I know this is coming up, or I could be spending this on this game. What's your pitch that, like, this is the €1 game they should back on Kickstarter?
Yeah.
I will go for the mechanics because I think they are pretty unique. There's only maybe obviously talking is compared, but this thinking where you place your workers and they advance. So the more you wait, the better the reward. It's pretty unique, and then you have the shared resources, which I also think it's pretty unique. So in general, it's a mix of mechanics that are not very common, and I think they create a very different experience than the usual Euro game. And also because I think it's gorgeous, really. I know it's not my part of the game, but I think it has a very special look and a very special art style.
It's got something very, like you say, unique, but almost quaint and ritual about it. It's got a very ritualistic kind of look. I love that. I love it. It looks just phenomenal, and I really can't wait to play it. Is there a TTS option of this at the moment? Or?
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if it's open if you search on TTS, but on the campaign there's a link, and you can try both the base game as the expansion. The only thing that I think it's not there yet, it's solo components, but apart from that, you can play with everything.
That's pretty good because especially if people are a little bit on the fence about whether to back it or not, they can go on TTS. Of course, TTS is a very different experience to a physical playing a game. I love playing with, pardon the pun, but we call them dead tree formats. But I love playing with something physical. And don't get me wrong, TTS is great for play testing, but you don't get the same vibe.
No.
So if you like the mechanics on the TTS, then it's probably definitely one for you, to take a look at, when the physical version's available, because just on the look alone, I want to play it. I'm a very visual person, and everyone who watches the show knows I am.
Well, that's the thing about being a designer. I think you spend a lot of time on the design, but you know that the first thing they will see is the cover of the game and how it looks. But I also play games because of that. I have Meadow, which I love, and I love the game, but it's extremely beautiful.
Yeah. I feel that way about quite a few games that they look amazing and they are difficult, and I always felt that Robinson Crusoe was one of them. It's stunning. The box design's incredible. and it's but it's a nightmare. The rules are so complicated. It took someone to rewrite the rules, if I remember correctly. So, but even the popular games can be difficult. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I know. So, what's next? For you, are you working on anything that's interesting that you can talk to us about, or
Yeah, I cannot give details, but I have other 4 games that are signed, so that they will eventually,
fantastic.
between this and the next year, they will start appearing.
Oh,
and I'm
so
also
people
working.
need to keep an eye out.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
And,
Watch out for more games by Dani Garcia, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I'm obviously
fantastic.
working on more games, so I have 2-3 more that I hope they will be signed soon, and that they will be the next one for 2025. Because
Nice.
you've seen that this is the kind of time that you are working with board games. You sign them 1 year, and it has to pass 2 or 3 years until they reach the public.
Yeah, we're still. It feels like even for the last 2 years, we've still been, even though in some ways the pandemic feels like ages ago in board game terms. All of the designers that we're still speaking to at the games that are being released now, they're going, "Oh yeah, I made this during the pandemic, or this happened during the pandemic," even though it feels quite distant from that.
Yeah, we're still seeing them,
Yeah, exactly. Cool, and I know this. Animation has been playing for a while now, but I wanted to show off the fact that so other people control this movement, right? So all of the players are being moved by the actions of one.
Yeah,
is that how that works?
Yeah, and it's not a thing that every turn it will move 1 step. It depends on the players that are there, and it depends even on the workers that they place, because some workers make it move faster, or even the actions that they might spend an action in order to advance it outside of the normal advancement. So there's a lot of interaction between players in this, and there's also you can see on this image that there are 3 icons on these tracks. That's also an important element, because if you place a worker on that space, you get a bonus. You get something that you will get to score at the end of the game. So you are also, because other players are moving the tracks, you might see an opportunity that just appears during that moment, because it will keep moving and it will disappear. So there's also this tension about jumping on, doing the thing you wanted to do, or maybe going on this track and help it move faster, but you also getting this reward. So I think in this, because it's easier to compare it to Tolkien, this time mechanic, but I think this part is what make it very different, because it really feels sometimes that you are cooperating, and some other times you might think, I don't want to go there because you are there and I don't want to help you. I prefer to go somewhere else.
Yeah, cool. Go, sorry, Gregor.
No, yeah, I was just saying that, it does. It reminds me of. I think that's what makes a really good Euro game. The fact that, if you think about some of the most popular Euro style games, that the idea that you are forced to make choices that between what you've got available versus actually what can I do that's going to make someone else's life difficult versus what can I do that will benefit me, but it might benefit someone else somewhere along the way. And I think that it sounds like it's got all the sort of core components that, in my opinion, make this sort of thing really interesting.
Yeah, the interaction and the impact on other players really appeals to me. Yeah. I think it's definitely. I think I need to potentially negotiate a review copy, or I just back it myself.
You've got 7 days. 7 days left to back it. Where's that?
Yeah. Damn it! I'm gonna have another game. Oh,
that's right. At £38, I feel like that for Kickstarter. That's reasonably good for the sort of all the art and the detail that you're getting. If I think, I don't know, I feel like I wish I hadn't said the price now, because I would be like, and what would you pay for this game? But that would be cruel. Then then Danny would think that they underpricing it. It could be making money.
I was surprised when I saw the price, because of all the components there. I think it's pretty cheap, and also not only the retail version, the upgrade to the deluxe version, it's only £7, I think, something like this.
It's not much. I think it's less than £10. It's 38 plus shipping for the base game, or 46 for the Kickstarter exclusive edition, which includes the expansion and
there's a lot of upgrades. So I was really surprised because usually on Kickstarter, especially on the last year with all that shipping prices, the prices went really high, and they've kept their prices down. So I think it's nice, even if you could think that some people will pay more for this game. I prefer that a lot of people are playing it and know my games. So I think in the long run is even more beneficial for me than trying to overcharge this game.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one to check out, and I think we're gonna I'm gonna have some serious conversations with the guys to find out if anyone has already backed it, if they haven't backed it, which of us on the team's gonna back it to get it, because if no one else is getting it, I might have to just get it.
I think the person you need to be having negotiations with is your wife, to be honest, to see whether you have the budget.
I've gone nuts on Kickstarters in the last 5 months, and I've probably backed more games than I should have. But you're right, I need to speak to the boss. So who in your household helps determine what you spend on board games? Because it's definitely my wife.
Well, I think I'm controlling myself very much because I don't have much space, so I have to really be careful about what I get. No. And there's a lot of. I also see a lot of videos of games that are coming up, and I always have this point of, I want to get this game, and then I really have to think about it and see if there's a space for it.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to get different things because I don't want to get two games that are too similar.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's also the reason why I try to design games that have strange mechanisms or different things because of this. Because if I was buying them, I would like to get games that do different things rather than get a game that...
just being like, I've seen a lot of stuff on Kickstarter recently that is kind of just, it's a theme or it's like a tie-in with a different with a different IP or something like that. And if you want to hear more things about games with IPs, listen to the podcast. Blah, blah, blah. Link, Spotify, whatever. They've talked about it recently. Cool. Should have prepared that. There could have been a thing there. But yeah, no, I agree that there's a lot of stuff at the moment where there's games based on to try and tie in with stuff, and I like an original concept, especially a beautiful looking original concept.
I do too.
But that was also my thing, because I'm a new designer and basically it was harder for me to contact publishers. I thought if I came with a game that does the same that everybody else is going, they are not going to take the game. So I had to force myself to do things different just in order to try to get the game signed.
Yeah,
and also it's funnier to design them too. So if you're trying new things,
exactly, it's coming up with unusual concepts. I've got one last question before I think we will wrap up. Where did the name Arborea come from?
That was Alike Games because I called it Feronia, which was the Roman goddess of wildlife and regeneration. And that's the name I gave to the solo bot, so it's still in the game.
Hey,
but I don't know. I guess they thought they sounded better Arborea, and they went with this.
Well, I
don't remember exactly if there was a discussion or if they told me the reason, but yeah. But I'm happy with the name. It's also a nice name.
I think both names would have worked, and I love the fact that they've kept your game in there as there's the AI bot. So that's nice. That's lovely. So of course, if any of you are still on the fence and you're umming and ahhing about backing this game, well, you can go and check out and learn more about it all on the Kickstarter, which Gregor has on screen at this moment in time. I just want to say an absolute thank you to Dani for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Of course, we get a lot of watch back, so please keep an eye on the comments if you don't mind, in case any questions come on.
Sure, I can answer it.
No, that's great. And in the meantime, everyone, the if you aren't following us on all the relevant social media platforms, you're going to hear this all again in a moment. But we also want to say thank you again to our sponsor. So if we can clear the banners off the site, when we can hit that all-important sponsor video, so we can watch that one more time, and our outro. So take care, stay safe, everyone.
Honey Badger Games sponsors Diary of a Lincoln Geek, the perfect treat for any class. They have an amazing selection of meeples, dice and potions, all in fantastic jelly form. Check out the website and the discounts below. Well, we hope you've all enjoyed the show. If you have, please hit that relevant social media icon and show your love. In the meantime, please do subscribe if you aren't already following us on YouTube. And of course, make sure you stay safe and keep gaming, everyone.